Welcome to the Town of Cedar Lake Utility Board public meeting for June 2023. You all please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Board Member Carnahan.
Here.
Board Member Rivera.
Here.
Board Member Miller.
Present.
Board Member Sheehan.
Present.
Board Member Foreman.
Present.
Board Member Sharp.
Here.
President Recupero.
Here.
Clerk Treasurer Sandberg is absent. Town Manager Salatas is present. Attorney Austin.
Present. Thank you, Chris. New business, item number 1, approval of the minutes from May 16th, 2023. Are there any corrections, additions, discussion on the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes?
So moved.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Ralph, seconded by Colleen, to accept and waive the reading of the minutes. Roll call, please.
Board Member Carnahan.
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Sheehan.
Yes.
Foreman.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Recupero.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 2 of new business is lease pay request number 6 for the East Side Utility Elevated Water Storage Tank project payable to Caldwell Tanks Incorporated in the amount of $74,250. Neil, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. President, this is for the, as you mentioned, the east side elevated tank. This is for the water utility on the east side, segregated from the west side. And this contract is 83% complete in terms of dollar amounts with this pay request, in the amount of $74,250.00.
Thank you, sir.
What exactly did we get for that money?
This most recent pay request is for the painting and coating of the tank.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yes, absolutely.
So for 83% paid, timeline to have it completed?
They're projecting late September.
It was August before, but now it's September.
It is now September, and if you were asking me to bet in Vegas, that's at the over.
Okay.
But they are moving on schedule.
And the logo will also go?
Yes, that was inspected this week by staff, that it faces the correct direction and is consistent with what you have on the west side tower at Perry.
Thank you.
I haven't gotten any calls from any of the residents, which is good. I don't know if any other board members have.
Since it's been painted, I haven't.
Bob?
Yeah.
Yes?
Same one, gentlemen.
Same one.
Well, I was gonna say,
Congratulations. I hope you're happy with the eyesore.
well, as far as tidying up the project, whatever effect you had on it, Neil, I appreciate it.
I would say progress is ugly, but once they're moving towards completion, it does tend to come together.
Yeah.
Are they gonna put trees in there around it?
That's something we discussed at a previous meeting, Bob, and that was something that Tim and Public Works was gonna look to do with the Park Department at a future date, but that's not part of the contract that we have with Caldwell for this project.
We told the people that we'd put trees around it, so.
Well, we intend to, Bob, but it'll be through Parks and Public Works.
I just don't want it to be lost in the shuffle.
No, I've brought it up many times.
Yep. Same thing with Utopia.
Yeah.
Offer trees back to the residents. But it'll be outside of the project.
Any other questions for Neil?
No, sir.
Do we have a motion to accept this pay request?
I'll make the motion to accept the pay request.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Colleen, seconded by Julie to accept this pay request. Discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Board Member Carnahan.
Yes.
Rivera.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Sheehan.
Yes.
Foreman.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Recupero.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Chris. Item number 3 of new business is lease pay request number 6 for the West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor Project. Number 1, payable to LGS Plumbing Incorporated in the amount of $132,542.82. Neil?
Mr. President, this is for the West Side Sanitary Sewer Interceptor Project 1. pay request 6. This is a sanitary project. In terms of length of completion, this is at 63%, and the amount of the pay request is $132,542.82.
And there again, what did they do to get, request this money?
The most recent pay request is 2 runs of sanitary sewer since your last meeting in May, including manholes, backfill, and appurtenances related to that sanitary sewer on the west side.
And the road is now open, correct?
Correct.
And the road's in bad shape, right?
Yeah, and I've been coordinating with Dwayne Alverson, the county highway engineer, and the contractor regarding the limits of what will be repaired as part of this project, and he's reviewing that and is happy with what they're being proposed to do for the mill and overlay of the final coat of asphalt for that area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any other questions for Neil or any comments?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept this pay request?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion made by John, seconded by Ralph to approve this pay request. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Board Member Carnahan?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Sheehan?
Yes.
Foreman?
Yes.
Sharp?
Yes.
Recupera?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item number 4 of new business would be future water capacity needs planning discussion. Mr. Salatas?
So I do have an update on that. Some time ago, last year, we had ordered a test well on what is informally or formally known as the Kretz Farm. We've since received back the hydrologist report of that test well drilling. It came back very favorable to the point where we want to continue exploring the options of moving forward with that well. So we're going to be working internally with coordinating with Dave and the property owner about those discussions. So we'll have more information forthcoming. That report came out just recently.
General location is the Kretz Farm, but whereabouts?
About on the north side of the property.
All right, that's on Parish?
No,
141st.
the Kretz Farm, which is now being developed as rail side.
Oh, okay, on 141st.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
because, all right, I got it.
South of the baseball field.
In about that area, correct.
So maybe a report next month, an update on this possibly?
Yeah, and some, possibly have an outline of next steps forward. Everything's contingent on scheduling and people's availability.
Okay.
That's good news.
It's vacation season, so.
We're in a drought, any water would be good right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you, Chris. Item number 5, written report, fund report, clerk treasurer. Do you have anything from Jennifer? Or?
Nothing that, besides what she sent out.
Okay, thank you. Item number 6, consultants and staff reports. Engineer Neese, Neil.
The sanitary update, as was mentioned earlier, regarding Project 1. Project 2 is complete in terms of design. We are moving forward with the permit, as Chris and I discussed this past week, for IDEM, and then we'll coordinate with Dave's office on the acquisition of those properties. And then on Project 3, which extends from the town property through up to 151st and Parish, we've begun surveying on that. Locates from 811 were a challenge to get, but they are moving forward with that, so we'll be on task and on schedule for Project 3 design completion.
All right.
For the water updates, as was mentioned earlier, the elevated storage tank is proceeding, and then the other projects that staff is doing, they're doing a fantastic job upgrading the Havenwood system and the Paris system in terms of not only capacity, but the electrical and pump upgrades as well, so they should be commended for that work.
Okay.
What's the status on the repair of the road by the clinic down there? I asked the last meeting about Dr. Mish had got a hold of me and wanted to know, have we moved forward on that?
They are proceeding. The repairs and restorations at the end of the project are, with any project, are always the most challenging. The infrastructure is the main portion. that always seems to go quick. But the contractor H&G is doing a fine job, and they're moving forward on that restoration for the asphalt and the grass areas.
And what's the status of the water line? Where are we at this point?
The water line is complete. They're moving forward with testing right now, and then restoration to soon begin.
And then eventually it has to go to Lakeside.
Yeah, that will be performed by the developer, and the group that's developing that, they're moving forward on permitting Lakeside 2, which is directly south of Lakeside 1, and then ultimately connect with what their proposed development is for Lakeside South. That'll ultimately come with a 12-inch water main to 141st at their southwest corner, where the main that's currently under construction and testing terminates.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any other questions for Neil? Any other updates, Neil?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item B, Director of Operations, Superintendent. Mr. Kubiak, do you have anything?
No, just that I don't know if I told you this at the last meeting, but we did get a generator finally came in for Robin's Nest, and we've been working on getting, we actually revitalized some of the retaining wall blocks from the roundabout and built a new retaining wall over there, and poured new concrete driveway and the generator to set on, so hopefully in the next week or so that thing will be up and running, so.
We're using good stuff, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable how, I'll show you a picture of it, but it turned out pretty good, so.
Cool.
Pretty nice to use that stuff that was sitting around, so
Yeah.
it's cool.
What's the status on the lift station? Are you done with the one over by Corky, and have you started on the one by?
Corky's is finished, and we got a price, we were getting prices for the one by
Boys and
MacArthur.
Girls Club?
Yeah, so, we're getting ready to do that, but, the couple contractors that we talked to, it's looking like probably August before they could get there to do it, but we're getting the rest of the stuff ordered, and it's on the list, so we're getting there.
All right, thanks for the update.
Thanks, Tim. Anything else, Tim?
Nothing.
All right, thank you. Town Attorney update. No reports. All right, thank you, Dave. Item number 7, JMOB report.
Got a meeting scheduled with the Lowell Town Manager, I believe Thursday morning, with Neil and their engineer to go over agenda and scheduling of the actual meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to comment that in our wastewater report that we got for the month of May, it's been in the past that our numbers have always been higher than Lowell's, but this month of May, ours were lower than Lowell's, which I like seeing that.
Maybe because we fixed a lot of the leaks from here to there, right?
We've had other times where we've been way low, but this is the first time I've seen it in a while.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Hey, folks, last year, about this time, we enacted a rule for water conservation, odd side, even side. Is that enacted now, or when does it go into effect?
It will go into effect essentially upon coordination with myself and the water superintendent as deemed necessary to sustain the system.
Okay.
So we haven't had any major issues yet with any water supply or anything like that. The big issue is largely when irrigation kicks on for the new subdivisions. But again, we've had a fairly mild summer so far, so.
Well, I can tell you this, I play golf at Tuckaway, and when I'm hitting 300-yard drives, it's time to enact it. It's pretty dry, but, you know, if we're not
But
desperately in a drought, we're close to it, and it's
We
pretty
are
bad right
in a
now.
drought.
as Tim and Neil had mentioned, or maybe it was just Neil, the Public Works has made significant upgrades at the well sites and have boosted capacity or capabilities and capacity of the wells quite a bit. So we're in a better position this year capacity-wise for our wells than we were last
And
year.
there's less new sod being put down this year than last.
Yes, helps.
Needed to have water every day.
Yep,
I just think we should be proactive.
yep.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
That's where I'm going with it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, moving on to public comment. Anybody here for public comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure will. Mary Jones Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. At the December 12th meeting, Mr. Niemeyer was presiding, and he had Sue Hayes here to present to this meeting. They were talking about the drainage fees and the water fees, and they were discussed. And then it was mentioned, we haven't raised our sewer rates for a long time, but when we raised them, my understanding was we raised them because we're gonna build our own plant. And of course, that never became reality. The water rates, it was mentioned, are under the Water Commission, and it would cost you like $500,000 if you ever went back to them. John, you brought that up, how costly that is. But my concern is the sewer. It was mentioned that there was a plan in place and that you guys needed to act on it. Also, Sue mentioned at that meeting that the first quarter report would be available to you, which I believe is past a quarter, so I'm wondering, my question is, A, is that report feasible? Is it ready for you guys to review? And that you were to use that report to create the capital budget and the operating budget for 2023. So, I'm curious to see if the rates, or if you're looking at raising them, because you also, at a joint meeting of the sewer, it was discussed, $27 million was thrown out for the improvements that need to be done to the sewer plant. So with all that in one meeting, I'm just wondering where we are as citizens.
Chris, do you mind, giving Mary Jo an update on this?
I can certainly. I can't speak to anything prior to my time, but as far as Sue, I will get back with Sue when she gets back from vacation, on the status of that report. I believe the last time the rates were increased was 20-something years ago.
98.
In 98, so in 98 I was not serving as town manager.
It went from $18 up $30 to $48.
Yeah.
But we're still waiting from Sue on that report, right?
I will double check. I'm not aware of it off the top of my head, and I also will have to double check the minutes to see exactly what report is being mentioned.
Okay, from December 12th?
Yeah.
December 12th, yes.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Name and address for the record, sir.
I'm very nervous to be up here.
Don't be nervous.
Randy Niemeyer, 13610 Ivy Street, Cedar Lake. If I may, Mr. Chairman, address Ms. Dixon's December 12th
Please keep it
question.
civil.
Some of the main focal points of that presentation were geared towards looking at future capital needs. A lot of it stormwater related, because at the time of my departure here, our stormwater funds were depleting quite quickly. A lot of those funds were used for matching on community crossings grants. Parish Avenue being one of them, where a good deal of stormwater infrastructure was installed. Highland subdivision, all these neighborhood reconstruction. So that was kind of more of the direction of the quarterly report that you guys should receive in looking at where your stormwater funds are and looking at how you're going to utilize that type of infrastructure money to match and maximize the available grants. Because if you don't have matching money, there's no sense in getting the grant, you can't use it. So I came tonight actually to complain.
Good.
So, the Utopia Water Main project, very pleased with seeing the fire hydrants around the neighborhood. There's been a lot of really good work done, and I appreciate the follow-through. The restoration portion of this and the general oversight of the project leaves a lot to be desired. The construction inspection part of this, I think, has been severely lacking. There are a number of curbs in Utopia that are not cut out for restoration. They've already done a lot of the concrete work of sidewalks and some curbs that they actually cut. But there are curbs that are completely smashed from excavators running over them, big chunks taken out of the curbs. There was actually some asphalt restoration going on out there today that they're going to have to cut out to replace some of these smashed curbs. The landscaping, there are large swaths of open dirt left around the seed blankets, where the seed blankets were laid in very poorly. The birds have basically eaten all the grass seeds, so that'll be a job that'll have to be done a second time. When the seed blankets were laid down, there was no water put on those unless the residents themselves spent the money to water it. So
I was worried about that.
there's really a lack of oversight. What I see is you have Gatlin Plumbing, that's a plumbing contractor, the contractor of the job doing landscaping work, and really nobody watching them. They're just kind of winging it. And the destruction to some of the curb infrastructure is a concern that I have, and a question of whether or not there is an intention before this contract closes to repair those destroyed curbs, so.
Fair
Thank
enough.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you for your concern.
Neil, can you address, these
Yeah, we have a
questions?
punch list several pages long at this point, and I would imagine by the time we get to the completion of the project, as they're whittling those away, that punch list will extend, and then as they address those issues, it will be removed.
Okay,
But there is quite a few issues on the punch list that they are addressing.
okay. And we'll keep these ones,
Yeah,
up here from Mr. Niemeyer.
absolutely.
I sent you all an email as well with pictures.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Randy. Any other public comment? Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Gail Brannon. My address is 7014 West 139th Place. And I want to ask about the $4.3 million that came out of the sewer fund for the dredging of the lake. What fund was that it came out of?
Ms. Sandberg?
That is the fund number 633, what we call WWTP Special, Wastewater Special Fund. So that's where all the capital is paid off.
Okay.
That's our capital sewer fund. That's how we have it listed within our fund, it's WWTP Special. So after analyzing, I've moved it to every 6 months. So we analyze the operating fund to make sure that we can meet our obligations, and then any excess we have gets moved over to the
Because I
capital
was
fund.
concerned, they're talking about raising the rates that we hadn't had raised in a while, but I do know that Lakedale pays Cedar Lake a pretty heavy price compared to what we pay for our sewer, and they just have gray water that they pay the town for, and there must have been a lot of money in that fund, and I was wondering, is that the building fund for the new sewer we're going to have to face, you know, in Lowell within the next couple of years?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite following you.
Is that, this WWP fund, is that the building fund for the sewer projects that'll,
That fund,
essentially it'll be a build project down in Lowell?
that fund is the fund that's utilized whenever we have capital needs down at that plant, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right now, Gail, that the wastewater treatment plant that we have in Lowell as a joint management oversight, we each own 50/50, right?
Right?
So, it's shared by us. So we do tax owning, so, but over the years, we've dipped into the wastewater treatment plant. And the reason some of it went towards the lake is a lot of the segregation to the lake was the fact that when this town became a town in 1967, but then by the time the lawsuits ended, it became an actual town, and the sewers got put in, it was like 72 or what have you, but there was so much segregation done to the lake, and that's essentially what killed the lake, right? So, fixing the sewer on the west side, such as the West Side Sewer Interceptor Project, is going to help alleviate and bypass a lot of the overuse for a lot of the pipes that are, you know, heading down to Lowell. So, any projects with that are geared in and around the wastewater treatment plant fund.
Has the project that's just taking the pipes to the EQ basin, is that project up to date for, you know, what's been done?
Phase 1 is complete and closed. Phase 2, we're close to finalizing the proper and necessary easements that we need. So
Okay.
we're getting close. So.
Okay, and what's the estimation of that entire project?
Neil, what are we out, 2 years?
4 years.
4?
We intend on applying for our item permits within the next 2 months. That'll be a 2024 construction project, and then project 3 will be a 2025 construction project.
So a few years away.
Yes, correct.
To be up and running.
So is there a balance in that fund, that the, capital improvements for the sewer project? Is there a balance in that fund?
Yes.
Is that public knowledge?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I grabbed that one as I was running out of my office. If you call me tomorrow, we can, get you the public record.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other public comment for the utility board? Ms. Sandberg, did you have anybody, transmit anything online?
There is no one online.
Okay. All right, the public portion of this meeting is now closed. This meeting is adjourned.
Town Council public meeting for June 20th, 2023 is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone.
Mr. Sharp, I see we have some scouts out here. I think they're here because they gotta learn about government. Communication.
Oh, communication.
Okay.
You may have come to the wrong, no.
Good job.
Just kidding, yeah, very good.
This also counts for citizenship in the community if you don't have it already.
Yeah. Well, welcome. We begin tonight with an oath of office for the fire department. Chief Wilkening and Todd Conradi, please come up.
Roll call.
We'll do roll call first. Roll call, Jen.
Thank you. Robert Carnahan.
Here.
Julie Rivera. Here. Nick Recupido.
Here.
Ralph Miller.
Present.
Colleen Scheeben. Present. John Foreman.
Present.
Richard Sharp.
Here.
I am present. Chris Glad.
Present.
David Austin.
Present. All present and accounted for. Now we'll do the oath of office.
All right, Mr. Conradi, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Todd Conradi,
I, Todd Conradi,
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support
that I will faithfully support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Indiana,
the Constitution and laws of the state of Indiana,
the ordinances of the town of Cedar Lake,
the ordinances of the town of Cedar Lake,
and the rules and regulations of the Cedar Lake Fire Department,
and the rules and regulations of Cedar Lake Fire,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and honestly discharge
and honestly discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a firefighter/paramedic
as a firefighter/paramedic,
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
according to the law
according to the law
and to the best of my skills and ability,
and the best of my skills and abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shaking hands, everybody. Todd brings 17 years of experience to us from another department, and he left to join us. He's a very skilled firefighter, and we're very happy to have him. So, if you can get your family up here, that'd be awesome. Can we give them 2 minutes to take a couple pictures? All right, Chief. Thank you.
Moving on, the next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing. I believe this item has been, will be deferred, is that correct, Chris?
The attorney has requested that this item be deferred into your next agenda.
To the next agenda, okay. Do we need to make a motion and vote on that?
I'll make a motion to defer ordinance number 1456, public way vacation.
Motion by John,
I'll second.
second by Colleen. Discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan.
Yes.
Julie Rivera.
Yes.
Nick Recupido.
Yes.
Ralph Miller.
Yes.
Colleen Scheeben.
Yes.
John Foreman.
Yes.
Richard Sharp.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0 to be deferred to the July 18th meeting. Public comment on agenda items only.
Cheryl Parker, 7227 West 130th. report. I'm reading through this very thin agenda today. And on the K2M for the new town complex, from what I'm reading, this is a $10 million project, is that correct?
I believe that's an estimate, yes.
Okay, so my question is, we have one proposal here. Where are the other bids for this proposal? And so we can compare to what these people are doing?
These are not bids, this is a professional service agreement for architectural services to get us through the programmatic design phase of a new town hall, to get us to a point to where we can estimate how much square footage we would need, so that way we can then calculate a more direct cost associated with the project.
So you don't take competitive proposal, I mean, you don't reach out to anyone else to say, hey, this is what we're looking at, what can you do for us?
Certainly, the town has, when it solicited bids for, or proposals for its public safety buildings, and this would just be a continuation of those projects.
Wouldn't it behoove the city or the town to look into that though? If you can get more for what we need and like at a more competitive price. I mean, professional services, you can shop around and do that with any kind of group.
You certainly can. I think the town was fairly happy with the services that they provided for the police and fire stations. I would like to see that continue with the next project.
So we aren't going to look at anything else and just take whatever's here that we have, is what you're saying?
Again, we have shopped around in the previous project for those, but we have not for this one.
Okay, that was my question. Okay, just to go along with that, so I know we have renovation going in this building when the police move out. They're going to have their own building eventually when that gets constructed. So why is there a need to vote on this to get this going if we have capacity right now, when you have two public safety buildings already that aren't even constructed yet? And how are we funding all of this?
This is not a budget, right?
I guess, if we're going to use the same format as before for a line of questioning, but the answer to that question would be, with our consultants, Cronin Associates, we will plan an estimated budget and how to fund it within that budget, but we have to get first through the programmatic design to know exactly what size of a project we're looking at, the budget. That is simply an estimated placeholder for the project currently.
You're talking about the dollar amount or
Correct.
square foot?
Both.
Square footage.
It's a design home.
Okay. All right, so basically, we're just taking whoever has already done a project here, and we're just going with them, regardless of whether there might be competitive,
Not whoever, they're very qualified architects who have
I
designed
understand that, but
buildings
it's a
across the
town,
United States.
and you have people who live here that pay taxes. And so my point is just that it might be beneficial to look into somebody else other than who you've already used. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Nixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. I would like to hopefully get some insight into Ordinance 1462, the definition, a little clearer definition. I hope you can do that during the reading of the outdoor events and special events. There's this long list of events, but then it also states that, but not necessarily defined or limited to that. So I think that kind of keeps an open end on what actually are you approving when it's so open like that. The other thing, it says that the events could be placed in a permanent building or a permanent installation. Is that referring to like a shelter, or if you can make a definition on that building, that word, because I just need a definition on that. And then also, if organizations and businesses have a permanent structure, can they still host something outside? Or does this ordinance have to do with only things done inside the building? It's a little confusing there. And the last thing is, the violation is $25 up to $2,500. I think that's kind of steep. And who determines that? Like, if I get, or whoever gets fined $25, or if they get fined $2,500 for having a special event? It's an awful wide range of fines. And then whose job is it to supervise this? Sometimes we make ordinances up, and then we never assign it to any department or organization or a person to supervise, and then it goes wayside. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
if there are other, if you want to hold it like previously, we'll take all the.
Are there any other public comment?
Gail Brandon, I did want to question about the delinquent minutes that are not at the town's website. There's some for the town council meeting, EZA, Board of Finance, Building Corp, Plan Commission. Who's responsible for updating those minutes?
Jen, can you answer?
We'll take all the questions.
Yeah, we're gonna take the questions now and then answer as soon as all the questions are over.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Public comment?
Kevin Zolt, 9725B West 129th Place. Just to follow up on the new town hall proposal or whatever, so we're gonna spend, we wanna put out $50,000 for some design or something. Can we ask where this thing's gonna go? Has that even been discussed? And can we also ask, where's the money coming from? I would also like to know, because I know when we had discussions over the current fire and police station there, the comments were made that we're bonded out, that we ain't gonna have any money for at least 10 years to do a town hall. So what happened to that? Just wanna know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Thanks, Carol.
Any other public comment? Public comment? Public comment. We can begin to answer the questions now.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to take the first?
I'll start with it, and I'll have Dave fill in
Yes.
as far as the special events permit, which we'll actually have to have a clarification. That's going to be ordinance 1465 and 1462. The definition is pretty expansive within that ordinance, and is quite honestly mimicked off of what other municipalities have for their definitions. Again, fairly expansive and pretty straightforward as far as a structure. That would be within the definitions of the building department. And then for Gail Brandon, responsible for minutes, who is the clerk treasurer, does the town councils. We have a recording secretary.
Your office updates them to the website.
Oh,
I don't have access to the town's website.
sorry, uploading them to the town website would be the responsibility of either our IT director or my administrative assistant, Margaret. As they are approved by boards, then they get added on. As far as the responsibility of creating those minutes, the recording secretary or the clerk treasurer. As they are approved by the boards of which they originate, then we put them on to the website once they've been approved as final. And then going to Mr. Toth, location. Location has been tentatively planned for this current site that it sits on now, and the funding, as responded to previously, will be identified using our financial consultants, Cronin Associates.
Dave, you want to add anything, or?
The special events permit regulations came from staff endeavors working at this project over a number of months, looking for good samples and examples that would work for Cedar Lake based upon language. That's what happened here. It is an all-inclusive list. Mary Jo somewhere?
She's back here.
No, read the whole thing, it also says it can be done.
Yeah, and it was not exhaustive for a reason. We couldn't define everything, or didn't think we could, given the evolution of activities in our town. So that's the reason it was left that way.
The fine structure is reflective of other fine structures throughout the town.
It is, and code enforcement would typically handle that, or the police department, who supervises our code enforcement officer. Typically.
Thank you, David.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else? Very good. We'll move to consent agenda. Minutes, May 16, 2023, and June 6, 2023. Claims, all town funds, $176,325.66. Wastewater operating, $54,372.65. Water utility, $59,605.25. Stormwater, $1,009.26. Payroll for 6/8/2023, $396,862.09. May remittances, $193,720.30. Also, manual journal entries for May 1st, 2023 through May 31st, 2023. Donations, their donation of $1,097 from law enforcement partners. Police K-9 donation of $25 from Shirley Wall. Police Department donation of two $50 gift cards for the parade. Donations to Park and Recreations of $100 to Park and Recreations and in-kind donations. Kelly Dykstra Essential Oil Diffuser for the 6/3/23 Fire Department, Police Department Team Building Event, and Pop and Water for the Police Department fundraiser. Motion to accept and waive the reading of the minutes, accept the consent agenda as listed. Do we have a motion?
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Julie, second by Colleen. Discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
No.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupto?
No.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 5-2. Thank you. Ordinances and resolutions. This is changed, I don't know if it's on your agenda, it's 1462, it is actually 1465. Special events permit. Chris?
So as outlined by Dave, this is a special events permit that staff has worked on for some time. I believe it originated with Chief Fisher and the desire to have a special events permit for the community, as other communities have a very similar special events permit requirement. So it does define in Section 2 outdoor events and special events as defined, which again it's a paragraph long, so I will just leave it to about that, but it's generally events that are deemed that would require public services of some nature, with the exception being funeral services, funeral processions, garage sales, birthday parties, graduation parties, or events of that nature. The permit fee itself would be $25, and then it does have regulations for alcohol, music, security, insurance, fire and electrical inspections, parking, and then, as mentioned, a penalty for noncompliance.
Thank you, Chris. Now, Mr. Foreman, could you read by title only?
Ordinance 1465?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Ordinance number 1465, special events and permit. An ordinance establishing Chapter 103 of Title IX and amending Chapter 99 of Title IX, entitled General Regulations Pertaining to Policies and Procedures for Permitting Special Events within the Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, repealing all ordinances and town code provisions or parts thereof in conflict herewith, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you, John. Any additional discussion? Do we have a motion to approve or to adopt 1465?
I'll make a motion to adopt 1465.
This is the first reading. Motion by Colleen,
I'll second.
second by Julie. Discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
No.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupto?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
No.
6-1.
6-1.
Next agenda.
This item will be moved to the next agenda for adoption. Ordinance number 1463, ordinance 2023 salary ordinance amendment. Mr. Foreman, by title only.
Okay, do you want Chris to give a synopsis of it first? Okay.
We'll try to do it in order.
You betcha. Town of Cedar Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1463, an ordinance amending town salary ordinance number 1436, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid, certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Cedar Lake for the calendar year of 2023, and repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Chris, you wanna?
Yes, so I was just trying to find a...
Park crew workers.
Reports from the crew. This was for both of this and the next one were for the Parks Department. This has the crew worker, I believe they were separating out the part-time crew workers as seasonal workers. Both would be not to exceed $15 hourly pay, 100% out of the general fund. I believe in the current salary ordinance, it only allows for part-time, so they would like to have the capabilities or abilities to hire seasonal part-time workers, or seasonal workers.
So we're not approving any hires, we're just clarifying the job description and salaries for this position.
Correct. And when we get to the job description, I can...
Yeah, this is just the salaries, and then the next one will be job descriptions. Okay.
Thank you.
Additional discussion? Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ralph.
I'll second.
Second by Julie. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Hart?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Do we have a motion to suspend the rules so we can adopt this 1463?
I'll make the motion, Mr. President.
Motion by Nick,
Second.
second by John. Discussion? Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Hart?
Yes, motion carries 7-0.
Okay,
Go ahead,
you want me to read it 1463 again?
Please.
Town of Clear Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1463, and ordinance amending town salary ordinance number 1436, establishing jobs and salaries to be paid, certain offices, positions, and jobs within the town of Clear Lake for the calendar year 2023, and repealing all ordinances or parts thereof in conflict herewith.
Same definition, Chris?
Correct.
Park
Thank
crew
you.
workers, part-time seasonal.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adopt ordinance number
I'll make a
1460?
motion to adopt 1463.
Motion by Colleen,
I'll second.
second by Ralph. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Hart?
Yes. Motion 1463 is adopted by a 7-0 vote. Ordinance number 1464, amending park staff job descriptions. John, by title only, please.
Do that. Town of Clear Lake, Lake County, Indiana, ordinance number 1464, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 1150, as amended from time to time, being an ordinance establishing job/employment descriptions for the employees of the town of Clear Lake, repealing all ordinances and town code sections or portions thereof in conflict herewith, including town ordinance number 1064 and all matters related hereto, amending the job descriptions of the following descriptions of the full-time, part-time, and seasonal job positions for the town of Cedar Lake Department of Parks and Recreation and all matters related thereto.
Thank you, John. Chris?
For this, this is a memo from the superintendent for the Parks Department. There was a maintenance foreman position that was created to mirror the salary, what's in the salary ordinance. It mirrored the full-time open space groundskeeper position that also included supervisory tasks. A full-time park maintenance crew worker or open space groundskeeper, the title was updated to reflect the park maintenance positions. CDL Class B requirements have been omitted, and lifting requirements changed to 50 pounds instead of 100 pounds, and an update in the equipment that they would be using went from riding lawnmowers to zero-turn mowers. Part-time park maintenance crew worker created mirroring the full-time position in a part-time capacity. Again, the equipment was changed to reflect zero-turn mowers. Seasonal park maintenance crew worker was created, again, for seasonal hiring, and the equipment was changed to reflect zero-turn mowers. And then the recreation coordinator position was updated for who she reports to for her supervisor, now that we have a park superintendent, which she was moved under. And recreational leader and recreational aides was updated. The supervisor reporting for that position, again, now that we have park superintendent. And then the fitness instructor was updated for the supervisor who they report to and changed to the Parks Department, and the administrative assistant position was updated to include the use of recreational software. That is.
We have a flow chart here that shows the superintendent is in charge of basically 9 employees. And, do we have the money to support this year and in the future years to come for all these employees?
The organizational chart that you see before you just shows who the titles respond to and their positions within the department. That's not reflective of the amount of employees the Parks Department will have.
So we may not have that many.
Correct, and we don't. So anyone that's looking at that and says we have 9 employees, because that's what's shown on the chart, it's a chart. When those positions become funded and available, that's where those people will be placed, if, again, funding is available within the department.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a motion to approve 1464?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Ralph, second by Colleen. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
I'm only gonna say no because I wanna sit on this for 2 more, or another month.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 6-1. This will be addressed on the next month agenda, July 18th.
Will that hurt the Parks Department, Chris? Are you gonna be okay?
They won't be able to hire seasonal employees, so
We're gonna miss this summer?
you're going to miss seasonal employees probably for the summer.
How long has our new superintendent been here now?
Oh,
3 weeks?
No longer than that.
A little bit
a little longer than that. For exact hire date, I believe we have it in the quarterly newsletter that's coming out.
Great. That's all I
It
have.
happened, I think, May 1st, to be honest with you.
What kind of seasonal employees are we talking about?
The
Seasonal,
mowing.
grass mowers generally,
Lucky it's not
maintenance,
raining.
things of that nature.
College kids.
Yeah, generally, people that are available in the summer only to do general labor throughout the parks that's needed, so that way more technical staff can perform other tasks.
Dave, can I change my motion, my vote?
You can withdraw your vote.
Mr. Carnahan, you wish to withdraw your
I
vote?
want to withdraw because I don't want to see trimming and stuff
Held up.
held up.
So Mr. Carnahan, you're changing your vote from no to yes?
Yes,
Okay, that gives us a vote of 7-0.
yes.
Now we can make a motion to suspend.
Does he have to withdraw, or can he change it? The vote was already taken.
He can withdraw it.
So he really needs to withdraw, not say yes.
I'm sorry. He can't say yes now?
He can.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
To add a little more information into that too, there is money within the Parks Department's budget for seasonal part-time staff. So it's not something that they'll be creating positions or filling positions to which they don't have funding for.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Carnahan changes his vote to a yes. The vote is now 7-0. So may I have a motion to suspend the rules so we can have a second to vote?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Carnahan,
I'll second it.
second by Ralph. Roll call, Jen?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Ordinance number 1464, John, by
Ordinance number 1464, an ordinance amending town ordinance number 1150 is amended from time to time being an ordinance establishing job employment descriptions for the employees of the town of Cedar Lake, repealing all ordinances and town code sections or portions thereof in conflict herewith, including town ordinance number 1064 and all matters related hereto, amending the job descriptions of the full-time, part-time, and seasonal job positions for the town of Cedar Lake, Department of Parks and Rec, and all matters related thereto.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Do we have a motion? Chris, same definition? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve, to adopt 1464?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ralph,
I'll second.
second by Colleen. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Ordinance number 1464 is hereby adopted. BZA Planning Commission accepts a public letter of credit extension for Cedar Lake Storage LLC in the amount of $7,700. Chris?
This is to extend the letter of credit, which is held by People's Bank, dated July 1st. This will replace a sunsetting letter of credit.
So what's the standby letter of credit used for, Chris? It's a small dollar amount.
I'm going to have to defer to Dave on that one. I think it's just to cover a temporary period between letters of credits, or potentially a period where they're going to be transitioning from a performance to maintenance to bridge the gap for that work.
That's exactly right. That happens to make sure there's no gap in coverage of what remains to be done by the developer.
Between a performance and a maintenance?
Yeah, well, it appears that way.
Okay.
Standby is a phrase used in the Uniform Commercial Code.
Okay.
Some banks use it, some banks don't. They can call it irrevocable, they can call it standby, they can call it a lot of things.
Okay.
But the net effect is that it's for a purpose to cover this period of time, and we are protected here to making certain those improvements get done.
Okay.
It's basically to finish the rest of the public sidewalk to the east of the project. They got it to the driveway, but they need to get it the rest of the way to the east where the viaduct and it's kind of a crazy, but they need like a retaining wall and
Okay.
a little expensive work to get it done. But that's the part that's lacking before it can be turned over.
Okay. All right, thanks, guys.
A motion to accept the public letter of credit extension for Cedar Lake Storage LLC in the amount of $7,700.
A second. Motion by Mr. Carnahan, second by Mr. Foreman. Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. New business, Monastery Woods Clubhouse Apartment Lease. Chris?
So this is an annual lease for the Monastery Woods Clubhouse that's above the Monastery Woods Clubhouse. The lease amount is $650 a month for the year, if it is approved.
Thank you.
What, is that a one-bedroom or a?
I'm going to defer to Tim. Is the apartment above the Monastery Woods Clubhouse bedroom?
One bedroom, one bathroom, a kitchen, and living room, with laundry downstairs.
And we pay all the utilities.
Any additional discussion?
No,
Do
sir.
we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the lease.
Motion by Colleen,
I'll second.
second by Julie. Roll call, please.
Robert Carnahan?
No.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 6-1. Thank you. Number 2, acceptance of Josh Gilbert's letter of resignation from the Board of Safety. Chris?
Mr. Govert has, unfortunately cannot continue in his role for the Board of Safety member, so he has resigned effective immediately, which was within the date of this letter, May 22nd. So we just need to formally accept the resignation.
Before we do, I'd like to thank Josh, if he's here, or if he's listening, or what have you, for his service to the town, and wish him best of luck.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Josh Gobert's letter of resignation as well.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Foreman, second by Mr. Carnahan. Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Fire Department reimbursement agreement with Todd Conradi. Chris, Dave?
Standard form agreement for a new hire.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the fire department reimbursement agreement?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Foreman,
Second.
second by Ralph. Roll call?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julia Vera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Christopher Bell pay request number 1, Dredge America, in the amount of $434,250. Chris?
So this is the, I believe, pay request 1 to Dredge America for Phase 2 of the Lake Ecosystem Restoration Project. And to Mr. Carnahan's future question, what we're getting for this money is a portion of the mobilization and demobilization, construction engineering, as-built surveys, operation and maintenance, and dredging sediment currently removed to date, which totals the amount shown before you.
$434,250.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Any questions?
Yeah, Chris, I asked you this, and, you know, between the conversation between you and I, but for the public's knowledge, because I had people asking me this, metering of the material coming out to make sure we're getting what we're paying for, that's being done in some fashion with this?
Correct. So these pay requests will be vetted through Christopher Burke Engineering, who's doing the construction observation for this project, and Sue Hayes, our essential on-staff accounting individual. This, and I'm probably going to butcher it, and I will then defer to the informational meeting that was given and is on our website under Lake Ecosystem Restoration Project. But the project, on a daily basis, they have to report to Christopher Burke Engineering the hours of operation, the amount of sediment that they remove from the lake, and depth ranges that they do, I believe, every hour on the barge to, again, show and prove that they've done what they're saying they're doing. Not that it matters for much since I'm not an engineer, but I did go out to the sediment dewatering facility, and they are pulling out sediment from the basin now. But Christopher Burke Engineering does do all the verification on quantities of material removed from the lake.
Okay, and they're not just taking their word for it?
No, they're going out there.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a part-time construction observation. TJ and Matt Rosa are the two engineers that rotate observation of that construction project.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Chris.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Chris, is there form documentation that the Burke firm completes when they're doing that quantitative evaluation or reporting?
I'm sure there is.
Do we get it?
I'm sure we can.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Unless it's in the
that's
veterans
just
report.
documentation they're taking and copying us on if they're doing it, so.
I can request from Don that be provided on a either weekly or monthly
What are we,
basis.
about a week into it?
Yeah, they're
Actual pumping after some pickups?
They started on the 9th, so they are just roughly about a week into dredging, so.
I saw a water spot the other day. Was that another boat?
No,
No.
no, but that was repaired.
Perfect. That was a break on their part.
Super.
Just a hole in the line.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Do a motion to approve the pay request for Dredge America in the amount of $434,250.
Motion to approve.
Motion by John,
I'll second.
second by Colleen. Roll call, Jim?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julia Vera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Christopher Bell pay request, Modern Edge LLC, in the amount of $11,965.35. Chris?
Yeah, Tim, do you mind speaking on this a little more? You
Okay.
oversaw this.
Sure. This is the hydro seeding and grass planting of the rest of the sediment dewatering facility to where the
Outflow.
water, actually the outflow of the project is. It ended at the riprap, and there was still some rough area to get back under the track, so we went in there and cleaned it all up, finished getting the rest of the stuff out of there, and basically it was probably a 3-acre area, but we got it all cleaned up. That's in and that Modern Edge came in and hydroseeded it all, blanketed it to get it, so it's basically that entire outfall now is maintainable, mowable, and we got all the rest of the vegetation and everything out of there, so it's good for the whole time of the project. We won't have any problems with, you know, the water making it back where it needs to go.
Okay, very good. Great. Thank you, Tim. Any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to pay it.
Motion by Ralph,
I'll second.
second by Nick. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Tardy?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Mr. Bell, change order. Number 1, site services, an increase in the amount of $12,294.54 for a new total of $204,590.87. Chris?
I'm going to again defer to Tim on this one because he worked out the details of the approaches.
Yeah, actually, we had to re-pour the radiuses on the curbs going into Winding Creek off 137 from, when they did it before, everything was screwed up, and it
Everything
looked
was,
like 137th was gonna be a 4-lane road, so while we were doing this, we tore all that out and extended them to the proper 24-foot radiuses and fixed the ADA crossings at both of those intersections to get everything lined up properly and done, instead of just going past it and leaving it wrong, so.
Good job, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, that looks great, and Chris, you know what I'm gonna ask? Jill was working on railroad crossings for a long time, and I know you've picked up the baton and you're running with it, but
Yeah, we're still working on it.
Whatever we
We're
need to
with
do.
providing easements, and we're going to be getting those easements to Dave's office, and, yeah, it's just unfortunate that working with the railroads is,
hey,
very painful.
Yes.
we must make that happen. This is so insane that there's not a crossing, both there and 141st.
Yeah, we're currently working on port crossings in the community.
Well, the one got a little bit better on 137. Might have been accidentally, but it did get better.
Oh, and also with that, there was a small section on 141st, or is that in this one? Yeah, that was part of this too.
Crack ceiling?
We had to actually mill and resurface, that area before the tracks, that one lane
Okay,
there,
yeah.
the cottage, we actually, that was supposed to be part of crack seal, but we switched it to mill and
Okay.
resurface, because since we did this project, since we bid the crack sealing, that road, that little stretch got pretty bad, and the crack sealing was not feasible. So that was the other part, that was part of that increase also.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Tim.
Yeah, that turned out good, by the way.
Do we have a motion to approve the change order for $12,294.54?
I make a motion to approve the change order number 1, site services.
Motion by John,
A second.
second by Nick. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Tardy?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Christopher Bell, pay request number 1 and final, site services. This is in the amount of $204,590.87. So this is just a payment of the...
Payment of the
whole
the
thing.
project is completed to satisfaction, and this is payment in full.
Yeah, this is payment 1 and final, which is kind of nice. Very good. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. President.
Motion by Nick,
I'll second.
second by Ralph. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Tardy?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Consider K2M agreements for the new town hall. Chris?
So, as already kind of discussed, this is a agreement for K2M. There's a representative in the audience as well, and the architect on the Zoom over there. This would be for the very beginning of programmatic design, same process that we used for the police and fire stations. We started a programmatic design there so we can know square footage and all that we need to go into this project. Scott, I'll turn it over to you on the Zoom if you want to speak to it a little bit.
Before you start, Scott, I don't think we ever finished answering Kevin's question.
Kevin, you asked where would it go, wherever you're sitting?
I did answer that.
Oh, you did,
On
okay.
this
All
property.
right, I didn't check it off, so, okay, never mind. Thank you.
But, definite location, it'll be, west of the police station?
Ideally, it would be right there, but that's not so limited to one location on the site if necessary.
Fair enough. That makes, Kevin? Okay.
Scott, do you want to take it over?
Is he
Hang
unmuted?
on, we can't hear you.
Try star 5, or unless you're on your computer, hit unmute.
Star 6?
Communication.
Sometimes Cliff has to reset.
Cliff's already in there messing as soon as I.
Yeah, he'll get it.
He's our IT guy, of course.
Great, powerful. There he is.
Here we go.
Nope. Like we had him and then we lost him. Oh.
Indianapolis doesn't have the bandwidth us fine town of Cedar Lake has. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the inconvenience. Yes. We heard you for a second.
No, that was Cliff.
Oh, is it?
Carrie, do you want to maybe take over for him since we're having some technical challenges?
Take it away, Carrie.
Carrie? Or would you prefer to wait?
I would rather.
Want to move on the agenda and come back?
Yeah, we can move on, do you think? You'll let us know, Jen, when,
When we start here then.
I guess we'll know.
I was gonna say, I can see him quite fine, I just can't hear him.
We'll move to number 9, disbursement request number 2 from 2022A Construction Fund number 100-103-1163 in the amount of $7,752.88 for the police department project.
So this is for services from Veritas Group in that amount. Again, as outlined in previous meetings, this goes through GM Development, Sue Hayes, and usually these pay requests go through Veritas Group, but since this is their own pay request, they do not, we do not ask them to verify their own pay request.
Has anybody verified their pay request?
Yes, I just said Sue Hayes and GM Development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is for what now, Chris?
This will be for owners representative services for the
Police is the first
for
one.
the police station.
Yeah, police is the first one.
Yeah.
And what exactly do we get for that?
They oversee the project for us, make sure that everything's staying on task and on time and on budget, and generally facilitate and answer questions between the developer and engineers in town.
Okay. And this is from, March of 2021, November 30th, 2021,
Updated Mark.
updated March 6th of 2023.
Yeah, so we do have them on a contract for owners representation services. So you will see these pay requests come through regularly. So this is just one of many to come we go through this project. And we have owners rep services or construction observation on almost every single one of our public projects that we undertake.
Very good. Thank you, Chris. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ralph,
I'll second.
second by Colleen. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julia Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupido?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Sheehan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Number 10, disbursement request number 1 from 2022B Construction Fund 100-103-1164 in the amount of $4,701.04 for the fire department less than the police department, okay. Chris?
Same services to Veritas Group, different side of the project.
Okay, thank you.
Same dates as I mentioned before.
Correct.
Thank you, Bob. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Ralph. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Julie.
That was
Or Colleen, I'm sorry. Second by Colleen. Roll call, Jim?
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera? Yes. Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Item 11, disbursement request number 3 from the 2022B Fund Number 324 in the amount of $10,733.19 for the fire department project.
So this is the remaining fire department. Again, very similar to the last two. This is for Veritas Group for that construction observation owner's rep. But those previous two were paid out of a different fund than this one. So we've got, when we did the bond, there's a trustees account, and then there's the bond account, and this one is coming, I believe, from the trustees account.
This one here is the remaining funds that the town had on hand. So once we expended all of the funds that the town had on hand, then we moved to the construction fund.
Thank you, Jen.
This was
Thank you, Chris.
verified by the same people.
Correct.
Does that make these accounts 0?
For the funds that were on hand on I believe it was the May 16th agenda, we closed out the police side fund. That would have been Fund 323. And so this closes out Fund 324, which is the fire side. So all cash that was on hand for the town, once I pay this one out, will be done, and then we'll be working solely off the construction account.
Yeah, there's a note to that regard at the bottom.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Do we have a motion to approve request number 3?
I'll make a motion to approve request number 3.
Motion by Colleen,
I'll second.
second by Julie. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Consider approval,
Let's finish this one, and then I can go to K2M.
consider approval to accept an easement for the Moore Street water main from Pete and Terry Bogodovich in the in-kind consideration, and to authorize the town manager, clerk treasurer, and town attorney to finalize the execution of the documents.
And this was an in-kind donation?
Correct. So in exchange for removal of approximately 4 trees on the parcel and sloping and seeding of the property, so that way it could be properly, or it could be mowed, was the request of the property owner, and he said that he would donate the property if we did those 2 items.
Thank you, Pete and Terry.
Yep,
Yes.
thanks, Steve.
I agree.
Good job, Chris.
Yeah. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by John.
I'll second.
Second by Ralph. Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
Yes.
Discussion?
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
Yes.
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Scheven?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Now, do we go back to number 8, K2M?
Test 1, 2.
Maybe?
He's right.
I can speak for him.
Okay.
I think he can text me, and would you like me to stand?
Yes, please, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So my name's Carrie Colvin, and I work from our Indianapolis office. I'm the Director of Business Development, and we have Scott Maloney on Zoom. He is the president and founder of K2M Design. And so I will do my best to interpret him and answer your question.
Let me pull it up here. I gotta get back to it.
George, huh?
Chris, do you have it up? What's it called, 5 underscore?
It's right on the side, 5 underscore NBO8.
NBOA, okay, I found it, thank you. So this is, for the receival of the contract, the programming, the needs evaluations, et cetera,
Correct.
services over the next 12 weeks?
Yeah, so it would be a 12-week project once it's approved and scheduled to start. Very similar to how we did the previous schematic design for the previous 2 projects. The cost has already been mentioned. And it would be K2M and DS architecture, again, similar to the previous project.
I do have him on the phone, I could put him on speaker, it's okay.
No, I think it's almost identical to what we did for the police and fire. And again, for the public, this is design only at this point in time. There is...
And programmatic design at that,
Okay.
which would lead us into this draft design.
Right.
Once we get to approximately 20 to 30% draft design, the project, if it follows the same phase as the previous projects, can then kind of enter the BOT phase where you can start pricing the square footage as you are finishing up design to make sure that the project is coming in on budget as expected, and you're using construction cost estimators throughout that process to make sure that as you're designing the project's utilizing materials that are readily available, especially throughout the COVID pandemic, long lead times or lack of availability of products, led us throughout that process to make different changes in the project.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I won't speak for the police and fire chiefs, but we've got one of them here, and I think they enjoyed the process, the programmatic design process when we started that last year.
Is that?
Will we be having a public visioning session on the proposed town hall? Have we thought about that yet?
No, that would not be a part of this project. If that was something that the council wanted to do, that would be in addition, above and beyond.
Like a presentation.
It could be included, it could be negotiated into.
Could be, if that is the desire.
Is this something that
I
you
can
guys...
put him on speaker if you would like.
Okay.
So Scott, I've got you on speaker if you want.
So, everybody, I apologize. I'm not sure which mute button to unfortunately get out of here at this point in time, but the process is exactly as Chris is defining. And it's just like we went through with the police and fire department, and I apologize for not being there tonight. But as part of the initial RFQ, we did pursue the police station, the fire station, and the town hall as kind of an aggregate component. But as we went through this, the focus became really on the police and fire. This is the second stage to be able to look at the town hall itself, and this is a needs evaluation. So it enables us to get through the visioning session, the operational requirements of the city, both today and then longer term into the future, 5, 10, 20 years into the future. We'll start looking at the programming at that point in time, and then a conceptual design. And Chris's point is exactly perfect, that we really want to make sure that when we get into the design, the early design, so it's only that first tranche of money, that we have a really good understanding of what a cost could be. And then that's when the town is able to go through and figure out sort of what they want to do. Is this something that's a financially feasible opportunity for them with no additional commitments to K-12? Just exactly the same process that we went through on the police and fire
thank you, Scott. And the total fee is $50,000 with an expense lump sum of $4,000?
All right, that has been amended to be not to exceed.
Not to exceed? Okay, okay.
Yeah, the quote says not to exceed.
And it will still be billed like in 33% increments on a monthly basis, Scott?
We think so, because it'll take, 12 to 14 months, so like, if you figure those, that's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that's how it'll be billed.
I see. Okay, very good. Thank you.
In this contract, there's another, I call it section 11.5, and it has a couple line items: design, development phase, construction documents phase, permitting phase, construction and closeout phase, all totaling $640,000. At what point does this?
So what the architects provided us would be, if we move forward past this first phase, that would be what the contract looks like. Again, this was very identical to the police and fire projects. We obviously would not execute the overall agreement. We would just be executing the first phase, which is the programmatic design for the $50,000. If we were to continue to move forward, location identified, size of the building identified, and funding sources identified, when we move forward, this is what the agreement would look like. So we can have a cost estimate, a rough cost estimate of what the full architectural services would look like if we were to move forward with the project moving forward.
Okay, and that's to completion?
And that would be to completion.
Yeah, and Chris, as a reminder that this initial bit of money goes towards that $640,000, so it's not in addition to it, it'll come off of it.
Okay, thank you. So, is this something, most of you know I'm new to this year, I've been in it for 6 months. Is this something you guys have got the wheels rolling on since last year, or is this something that?
We want to use the synergy of what Veritas and these guys did together with the DOT for the public police and fire station, kind of keep the ball rolling on a new town hall.
So,
And this is funded within the existing budget.
Yeah, we had it in this year's budget.
this item here?
Just this portion of it.
I just don't have enough background on the need for this. I guess I haven't had enough discussion with people.
For sure.
The need for this,
Right. Well, if you go to the bathroom one time, you'll see your need.
Well,
That's how I explain it.
Okay, the need.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking $10 million overall here, so.
It's an expensive bathroom, I know.
Yeah, I'm just a little uncomfortable with this right now because I don't have enough information to make a decision on this.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if this makes it to phase 2, and if we're able to pull it off, the grand vision for this property changes immensely. Ultimately, someday this building that we're in, while it'll be a temporary parks facility, I think the vision would be and should be that this gets raised. It's kind of a Quonset hut, runs north and south, blocks the view of the lake. Out back behind police, fire, even from up at the road, you're going to look down and see the lake. So eventually, when we get to that point in time, it'll be future councils naturally. But this is kind of part of the grand scheme of things. Once upon a time, years ago, we proposed possibly doing a town hall on this side and police and fire on that side possibly, or maybe some strip, on the other side, housing town hall and parks, and then maybe a police station over here. The fire is kind of new in the last, 5 years or so, but that was kind of the plan, how do we capitalize on Constitution Avenue, well, the Yacht Club Road, as I like to affectionately call it, wherever Cheryl is. How do we capitalize on, letting the public access this property off of both of these roads, right? And this whole area as being a town center. We threw out some pie-in-the-sky concepts years ago for Midway Gardens. We certainly ruffled some feathers at that time. That was kind of a fun meeting. People thought we were going to come in and take their houses, and I mean that respectfully. But really what we were just trying to do is how do we give ourselves, Nick, an identity, a home base, a place, a gathering point, because we're stuck in the middle of a lake in the middle of the town, and we don't have a downtown. So ultimately, that's kind of what the plan is for here.
Councilman, to maybe answer your question or assuage some concerns, this does not commit you to moving forward any point beyond this project.
Yeah, I got you, Chris.
And truthfully, if the needs of the building are met in this scope, my thought is maybe we decide to put it somewhere else.
right? I mean, there's no guarantee that we can't take the design of the building, the amount of space for conference room, for a chamber, for offices, for bathrooms, you name it. You know, my theory is it's engineering. Engineering is more economical than building a physical building and then having to tear it all down and change it. So there's no reason why, if something happens in the next X number of years, that we decided to delay this and move it to a different location, we always have that option. We don't throw away the plan. Just kind of my thought.
Correct. That is correct. So we're not making the assumption that we are doing a new construction project. We're actually studying the needs of the town to be able to ascertain, you know, how do we use the existing building, the existing property, to be able to give you what you need for 5, 10, 20 years down the line. And so we're not making the assumption that it's a new building. It's just, that was an aspect of a future agreement in case we were trying to build out what the total price would be for the project. So, but our work will include evaluation of the existing facility, the condition assessment thereof, as well as the pragmatic functions, like how we can fit it in there.
It's just
To give you the full, you know, understanding of what we're dealing with. Without a doubt.
Similar to fire and police.
Yeah, I don't have enough
Exactly.
I don't have enough back to,
No,
my point.
I
On my
respect it.
background, it's gotta be sold to me, and then we have to sell it to the taxpayers, and I'm not sold on it yet, so just because I don't have enough information on it.
Yep.
It's a lot of money overall.
Any additional questions for Scott and his team? Do we have a motion to approve this agreement with K2M for the new town hall?
I make a motion to approve the K2M agreement for the new town hall design study.
Motion by Foreman, Mr. Foreman, second by Colleen. Discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I was asked by Chris to review and comment on the engagement proposal.
Yes, sir.
We have not talked about that. We just exchanged that here in the last 2 days.
Sure.
So I'm going to pass that along to you. There were
Okay.
some items I...
So that's under review
Well,
currently.
I would make any approval or motion contingent on the attorney's review approval.
I'm good with adding that to my...
I'm good with that.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just wanted you to know that we
No.
have looked at it internally. We didn't just rubber stamp
Sure.
checkoff here.
$50,000 design?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thank you, Dave.
I'd like to add that to my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, John.
Per-
And
Good
I'll
by
add it to my
Colleen.
second.
Thank you. Discussion? Roll call.
Robert Carnahan?
I'm going to state something before I make my vote. I have nothing against this company, but based on what Ms. Harper said, and we have a local architect here in town, and as it's been said, when we purchase police vehicles, we ought to stay in town. So at this point in time, based on that information, I will say no.
Julie Rivera?
Yes.
Nick Recupero?
No?
Ralph Miller?
Yes.
Colleen Sheehan?
Yes.
John Foreman?
Yes.
Richard Sharp?
Yes. Motion carries 5-2. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
We move to reports. Town Council, Mr. Carnahan.
Cedar Lake Summerfest is coming up June 30th through July 4th. And the parade, they are now scheduling it always on a Saturday, so it'll be Saturday, July 1st. And it's my understanding that Mr. Niemeyer is going to be one of the judges for the parade.
Oh, boy.
I can neither confirm nor deny because I do not want to be an unbiased party.
Okay. And are you also, John?
I'm unable to, I won't be around.
Oh, I heard you.
Yeah, I was asked, and I have to respectfully decline. I won't be in town.
And I've got all the flag raising lined up with, the first night, Molly Cuba will be playing an instrument for the Star Spangled Banner.
Super.
I've got every day covered except for the 4th of July. I do not have a singer.
You don't want me to sing, Bob? Okay. Well, it's a good thing I'm out of town.
I'll do it, Bob.
Huh? Oh, I thought you said you'd do it. Okay.
Right.
Mr. Carnahan, did you know Molly goes to Butler University?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
She's also the granddaughter of a 102-year-old
Yes,
grandmother.
She is.
That's awesome.
Granddaughter, correct.
Very good. Thank you, Bob. Any other town council reports?
I have a quick report, and actually, Dave, I hope you're listening to this, and maybe you can, comment on it, but, actually, a family member today sent me a screenshot of, and actually, it was yesterday, June 19th. Indiana Appeals Court affirms right to Lakeview and Ogden Dunes zoning dispute.
Into it with it.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I know that case.
Okay, so, and it's just something I want to mention because I was on the BZA for 7 years, and anybody that knows my time there knows I was against the height variances, especially along the lakefront. I'm a firm believer in preserving the lake views for many people and the public, but anyhow, just I guess a brief summary of what they say here. The Indiana Court of Appeals has determined an Ogden Dunes couple is entitled to challenge a town zoning board decision authorizing construction of a taller than usual lakefront house that would block the couple's view of Lake Michigan from their hillside home. The appellate court said impairment of a water view in this case constitutes a substantial grievance against the zoning variance and conveys legal standing to seek judicial review under Indiana law. There's folks' names here, and they wanted to construct a house that was 39 feet instead of 30-foot maximum height permitted by the Ogden Dunes zoning code. I just don't want, I want this to kind of be something that we think about, our Board of Zoning Appeals thinks about going forward, so we don't get ourselves in a pickle with anything.
That's still not necessarily the law of the land.
Nope.
I understand.
It could still be transferred to the Indiana Supreme Court.
Court.
I got you.
Yeah.
Secondly, if it does not go to the Indiana Supreme Court, it could be remanded with the entire BZA developmental variance application that was the genesis for the complaint or objection or remonstrance. Literally, the folks who commenced this lawsuit were told they did not have standing to argue the height of building and obstruction of Lakeview in this case, but it could have been any view. It could be out west in the mountains. It
Sure.
could be, down south in southern Indiana. If remanded back, that decision still is forthcoming, but it's a substantial decision, and particularly how even the dissenting judge weighed in an opinion. So,
Yeah.
Something to think about, you know?
there's a lot to that decision.
Yeah.
It's gonna go down the books next to Long Beach.
Okay. That's all I've got, Mr.
Okay,
President.
thank you, Nick. Thank you, Dave.
I have a question.
Yes.
Back at the end of April, I was asking about, putting the speed bumps exactly where they were last summer, but on Osborne Street, they haven't been put back, Tim. Did you buy more? Were you?
I know we ordered more, but to tell you the truth, I haven't heard anything about them, and I have not checked, but I will look into that tomorrow.
Okay, if you could check, because some
I
of
know
the
we were ordering them, and I've never heard anything or checked, so I will find out.
Okay, I appreciate it. And then, Todd, someone had asked about painting the area around fire hydrants. I would assume people would know not to park in front of a fire hydrant, but apparently around town, people have been violating that. Is that something that, do you think that should be done? Could it be done?
Well, I mean,
Painting yellow?
yeah, the ordinances or the law is 15 feet in all directions, so,
Okay.
that we have 500 or 500 hydrants, so,
So it would take some time.
yeah. I mean, common sense tells you not to park in front of a hydrant. And if you park within 15 feet of a hydrant, in order for us to be able to manage the hydrant with our apparatus, we're gonna do some damage to your car. So,
Maybe we put it in the public rules.
Yeah, so if they are parked there, I assume they get a ticket? If they are parked in front of a hydrant, I'm assuming if someone calls, they'll get a ticket.
we have a problem at the school periodically. Hanover's, just the last event they had there, we had cars parked in front of the hydrants. The police came and took care of it, so.
Thank you.
That makes me think of another thing.
Yes, sir.
And Tim and Todd, I guess, on Fairbanks, we've got those fire hydrants that are on the east side of Fairbanks. And I don't know who used to cut it, but all those tall weeds were cut down. Who takes care of that? The street department take care of that?
Yep.
So then we need to get that cut.
Yeah, they should be cut.
No, it's maybe 2-3 feet high around the fire hydrants on Fairbanks.
Just between 133rd and the Boys Club, or
Yeah.
right there? Yeah, he's been out mowing, so I have not noticed that spot.
It looks like they just hit the side of the road and didn't go in like they used to.
In the subdivisions, people take good care of the areas around
Yeah.
it, not so much with the snow, but, you know, in the wintertime, we try to get people to adopt a hydrant in front of their house.
So if you could check that out.
Snow.
Yeah, we'll check it out. We usually have the crew going behind him with the weed eaters, going around doing that extra stuff, but with all we've had trees cutting down and a lot of extracurricular activities going on lately, so, we'll check it out though.
All right, thank you.
I wonder if we give the town a ticket. What do you think, Bob? I don't think so.
I wonder if they pay.
I got a ticket, I paid it.
The town pays the sewer bill.
Any other council? Town council? Mr. Austin? No. Thank you, Dave. Clerk treasurer? Thank you. Town manager, Mr. Swanas? Haven't heard from you tonight.
Yeah, no, be quiet. We had the groundbreaking today for Centier, along with the chamber, so that was a nice little addition for today to get out and get some sun. And I posed a competition to Centier to see if they can beat Culver's to completion, because they got a bit of a head start.
Yeah.
No answer on that, unfortunately.
No answer, huh?
I imagine we'll hear about the helicopter adventure yesterday, so I'll reserve that for the police department. But we did also get an emergency rule in place from the DNR, or I correct that. DNR has gotten an emergency rule in place for the lake dredge to codify the requirement to stay 200 feet away from the pipeline in any side. So it's a 400-foot span across, with the pipeline in the center being 200 feet on either side, and a 200-foot radius around the dredge barge. We will be publishing that, if we have not already, on our website. It does carry a fine to it. So it would be a Class C infraction under the DNR, to which they can cite any offenders. And we have a fun little map that corresponds with it that we'll also be posting on our website, putting onto a board of sorts that we can post at the public launches, print out, hand out to the chamber and other entities that hand them out, and attach that also to our Lake Ecosystem Restoration website page, so that way people can have it to reference. It's a very good document. Green is the crossing area. Anything that is yellow is a no-wake zone, and then it shows the pipeline going down roughly the center of the lake. And there
Is there
will
enough room in there?
There is. So there will be an entire yellow block across the southern lobe between the two nearest points in the lake, where the entirety of that zone will be a no-wake zone. It's extremely close. There's a 200-foot barrier or distance that you have to keep away from the shore for no wake. There's now the 200-foot distance on either side of the pipeline that you must keep away, which would have left essentially a 100-foot strip of water on either side, or an approximate 100-foot strip. So the DNR has requested that that be made entirely no wake. I believe if they're still on schedule, the DNR will be going out with Dredge America tomorrow morning and dropping buoys in that area that says no wake zone. So that way it's clearly identified for any voters or jet skiers, etc., the exact area that they need to remain no wake.
Explain the no wake.
I cannot. Do you want to explain
Well,
that?
essentially, it's really just
Idle speed.
Idle.
No rooster tail.
No. Okay, seems like everyone knows.
Okay. I didn't.
Neither do I.
Chris, a Class C fine by DNR, do you know what the cost is?
I don't, and I unfortunately
DNR
don't
can
want
be
to find
pretty-
out. I'll just assume it's very high.
It is, it probably is very high. DNR can be very,
$300 and some dollars, I think.
is that what it is, chief? Yeah, okay, thank you.
It's cheaper than an outdrive. That's what I will chime in.
Don't give the DNR a reason to
No.
interact with you.
They said they're gonna be out there a lot.
Good.
I'll be out there over Thursday.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Kubiac?
I have nothing, thank you.
Carl, police department? Anything happened yesterday? No. Okay, good. We can move on.
I've got a question or a comment. I'm looking at traffic stop analysis, and there were 4,490 for the entire year of 2022, and already for 2023, we've had 2,990. And so that's only 5 months. It looks like they're gonna surpass that.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
All righty.
I'm pretty sure we addressed this already quite a few times.
Yes.
Part of it, well, I mean, there could be many contributing factors. Obviously, I'm sure, as much as I've noticed it living here my entire life, things around here have gotten quite busy over the last couple of years. Every day, all day, 7 days a week. In addition to that, our officers, starting January 1st, are working with a 12-hour schedule. So now they got 12 hours each shift to do more. And I believe that contributed a great deal to the activity as well.
I just wanted to look that up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Anything else, Carl? Is that?
I mean, obviously, everybody's aware of the helicopter crash incident, of which I personally observed it flying and go down. Immediately responded to the lake, personally spent the whole day out there working with FAA, NTSB, because they did not respond yesterday. So I had to take care of that issue until the helicopter was removed. And then today I was out there with FAA, came out today. Ongoing investigation clearly with them. Nobody was injured, nobody was hurt.
That's the good news, right?
The pilot is a local resident. It was not his aircraft. It was leased out of Lansing Airport. Complete cooperation with everybody at that level.
Good.
Yeah, so.
And a pier installer removed the helicopter, from what I understand?
He did, so ultimately Sunrise has the most appropriate equipment for the task. That was my choice. It was also left up to the owner of the aircraft to have somebody remove the aircraft through their insurance, and that was their choice as well. And it worked out perfectly.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, thanks, sir.
And of course, obviously, the fire department was just as much involved. They
Sure.
had divers, Crown Point Fire, several fire agencies. I did a press release on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
The divers were with me on the boat. Everything worked the way it should. The response was immediate, very professional.
Todd, who were the other agencies?
Well, the Lake County Hazardous Material Emergency Response Team came out, our department with our boat, we went out and put all the booms out to capture any leakage on the lake, which we found none. The fuel cell stayed completely intact, which we were completely amazed. But it was out there as a precaution, just in case when they removed it, if it spilled, that we would contain it. Our county dive team, which our department is involved in, responded as well. Like Carl said, the police boat is better for dive operations, so we take our divers and put them on the police boat, and then we did the hazmat mitigation as well. So the dive teams are made up of Hobart Fire Department, Maryville Fire Department, Cedar Lake Fire Department, and Crown Point Fire Department. That makes up the whole county dive team. So we work together collectively. So When there's an event here, they come here. When there's an event in their community, we go there. The Indiana Department of Environmental Management was there as well, IDEM, just in case there was an issue. Ultimately, the DNR took over as in command of the incident. We commanded the incident through the whole process. Carl was out forward on the lake. I was on the scene running command. And we worked together and mitigated the problem. The issue was getting out there quickly. Luckily for us, Carl was that close.
Yeah.
Understand that was kind of a perfect storm. You know, there's times where, you know, that may not happen as quickly. So what ends up happening is bystanders do help quickly. And 2 people, I guess, were helped by these bystanders on the lake as well. So, but there was a large response because it came in as a helicopter crash. There was rumors there was a plane crash. That wasn't true. Nobody jumped out of the helicopter before it crashed. The video clearly shows it going down. Facebook is just ridiculous with the stories, you know, that are out there. And they were perfectly fine. Nobody lost any limbs. Nobody's head flew off, nothing like that. So it all worked out well. Our town manager was on scene as well. And,
not nearly as useful as you two.
But you know, it's nice to have, it's nice to be able to divert an official comment from the actual town as well. So it just worked out real well. So.
Very good.
I just want to add, I think it's important, there was a lot of concern about leakage and so forth.
Yeah.
The helicopter remained upright, even as it sunk in 8 foot of water, it sunk on its skids.
Yeah, I'll be darned.
So there was containment, there was no, we put the divers in, we wouldn't have done that if there was, you know, leakage. Even if.
Well, that's really good news. Yeah, that's really good news.
Yeah, so that was kind of one of everybody's biggest concerns.
Yeah.
So we're good there.
Okay, great job, guys.
Yeah, good
Great
job.
Oh, I have something else for the police department.
Oh, yes.
For the rave Smart 911 calls, is it possible to send, I don't know, bi-weekly reminders about the fireworks ordinance? Because the complaints have started already.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because if you look at our police department Facebook page, just before the meeting, I posted a little fireworks reminder.
Okay.
Coming from our K-9 Johnny, but I will do that already as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take care of it.
Yeah, it started already.
Maybe our residents will listen to the dog.
The dog's very scared of it.
Okay. Anything else, chief? Okay, thank you. Written communication, building department report.
As usual, take these in all together. For the month of May, we've had 10 newly constructed homes with a total of 38 for the entire year. For May, we've had 72 other permits with a total of 237. For Christopher Burke, most of the work revolves around currently the dredge project, which has been pretty intensive as they started up this month, and the construction observation throughout that project. And otherwise, it would be the local road and streets plan that they're drafting for us, and finishing up the CCMG 2023-1. For Veritas, again, construction observation being the largest. But notably, a draft RFP for the Parks Department 5-year plan has been created and submitted to the Parks Department for their review. That'd be it.
Mr. President, can I
Yes.
ask a question? Probably going to be for Chris. Maybe somebody else will answer it. The June 7th Plan Commission work session, Don Oliphant had mentioned in one of his report MS4 violations in Beacon Point East and West. I believe you recommended fines. What's the status of that? I've got residents, especially in Beacon Point East, that have got issues. I've walked that whole subdivision. And
I've sent out a flurry of fines recently. It's probably around that time. I'm not aware of the specifics right now, but I could potentially get that for you soon.
So fines will lead to corrections?
Fines would lead, ideally, warnings would lead to corrections. Fines are lack of correcting, which should elicit corrections, and I believe some have been corrected. But without having that information in front of me, I'm just not uniquely aware of individual MS4 fines and corrections.
Okay.
But again, I can get that for you.
Okay, I'd appreciate it if you could share it with me.
Hey, Nick, I can tell you, if I may chime in just quickly, the strictness of the Burke firm, letting a performance bond go into maintenance is pretty strict. So, we're not to that point yet. I know that's not a good feeling for all the neighbors, that they just want it done and be done with it and have it be how they,
Yeah, I got it.
feel like it should be, but that's the saving grace is the performance bonds are there for a reason, as are the maintenance bonds.
Yeah. If there's active violations of MS4, I people are just getting tired of waiting.
And
they're getting
the
exhausted.
violations may be different than the construction repairs that they want to see. So there's not necessarily a correlation between the punch list items that a lot of the complaints have been about and the MS4 violations necessarily. Again, without looking at the specifics, I can't say, but I could kind of back up John's comment that Christopher Burke is pretty well hated by most developers in the county, given their thoroughness on their client's behalf, which is us.
Yeah, that's good. They're working for us, right? Yeah. So, okay, if you can give me some information that we can share on that, I'd appreciate it, Chris.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. With that, we move to public comment.
Mr. Chester?
Yes.
If I may, we did receive one piece of written communication.
Oh, okay.
So this was received in our Dropbox on June 19th. It is from Pamela Davenport, 13035 Schubert Street. Once again, I am bringing up Potawatomi Park, would like an honest update on when we in Meyer Manor and Meyer Manor Terrace can expect new playground equipment for our children. Thank you.
So that can go into public comment?
Yes.
Okay. And one visit per person to the podium, and you make your statements, your questions, or whatever. And we'll respond at the end of the public comment. Thank you.
Mary Dixon, 8711 West 132nd Place. On behalf of the Cedar Lake Summer Fest Committee, we feel that a procedure needs to be in place for the upcoming 4th of July, and we're hoping that you'll coordinate and work with us on that. Thank you.
Any additional public comment?
Deborah Burnett, 13466 Drummond Street. Just wondering when Gatlin is going to come and finish the landscaping job in our neighborhood. It's kind of nightmarish looking, and if any of you all came and walked through our neighborhood right now, I'm sure you would hear great discontent. I guess they did solve the fire hydrant problem, Julie. The fire hydrants are in backyards in our neighborhood. So, I mean, there's a plus there, but I know there's a lot of folks in our neighborhood that are questioning what in the world is going on and when is it going to be resolved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
13466 Drummond.
I'm not happy every new fire hydrant you guys can't get to. You either have to go through the front door to get to the hose. So just open the door for us small.
If we're home.
Chopping down, you can run through the driving through people's cars. We'll manage.
I know.
Kevin Toll, 9725B West 129th Place. Just read a little background here. This is from the Office of Community and Rural Affairs at Purdue University on the use of tax increment financing by local government. Indiana law now makes it clear that a TIF is intended to fund infrastructure and to promote development that would not occur but for the added infrastructure financed by the TIF revenues. Evidence that the development would not happen but for the establishment of the TIF district must be presented before the TIF district is approved. TIF is not meant as a source of revenue for the responding to ongoing development, nor as a substitute for other sources of infrastructure funding. TIF districts are required to expire once the infrastructure bond is repaid. TIF is not meant as a permanent source of revenue for the enacting government. Also, the rarely discussed problems with TIF districts, such as taxpayers subsidizing the TIF district, Needed services increases such as schools, police, fire, EMS, et cetera, that will be used as these areas are developed will not provide any increased tax revenues to pay for these services for the length of the TIF. Again, every other taxpayer will pay for these increased costs, not the TIF. From the state of Indiana, TIF districts were originally created in California in 1952. That ought to say enough about TIF districts in itself. Disadvantages of TIFs. TIF debt and tax revenues are virtually invisible. In Indiana, TIF debt is unlimited. TIF debt is at a higher risk. TIF freezes the tax base and non-TIF tax revenues in the allocation area. TIF revenues are easily diverted for other purposes. So I would like to ask, the $3.9 million that was supposedly taken out of the TIF district that was diverted to the lake dredging project, what will the total cost of repaying those bonds be? I'm sure there's an interest rate on those bonds over the length of the term of the bonds. So we are told it's 3.9, I'd like to know what the total cost would be. And one other question. There was $4.3 million taken from the wastewater funds for lake dredging. This is from the State Board of Accounts, and I quote, "Utility expenses should be directly related to the function of the utility. Expenditures for a city and town operating costs should not be paid from utility funds. Establishment of a cash reserve fund permits transfer of surplus funds to the city or town general fund." I understand that this last sentence gives you the possibility of taking these wastewater funds and putting them in the general fund. But the question is, with the pending wastewater treatment plant expansion, which we haven't heard much about it, what it's going to cost us, and the pending rate increases to the utility customers to pay for that expansion, why was this a wise decision to raise these funds, and how does this benefit the utility customers? And can you tell me when this transfer took place and when it was approved by this council? Because I looked on your minutes, I can't find anywhere where that 4.3 was moved over to pay for this. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Don't forget about the voice comment. Did you want to say anything?
Did you want to?
Randy Niemeyer, 13610 Ivy Street. Again, very nervous to stand up here. I'm your county councilman for the 7th District, and I've been paying attention since I took on my new role to multiple communities, and the 7th District of Lake County is the fastest growing. You have Lowell, Cedar Lake, Crown Point, St. John, and Winfield. These are communities which are very desirable for people to live in, build their businesses in. And there are a lot of challenges that come with that, and I've been paying attention to many local government meetings, and those of you who know me know that I do spend some free time, sometimes not free time, but I like to listen to archived meetings and pay attention to what's going on in all the communities. Cedar Lake is not unique in those challenges. I attended a Winfield Town Council meeting recently where they considered an update to their comprehensive master plan, which was very thoroughly done, considered a good deal of public input, and it was a very good process that they undertook there. I paid attention to that throughout the process, and I think the results that they got from that are going to help to yield a proactive approach as the growth continues in Winfield. Winfield is the number 9 fastest growing community in the entire state, so they have a lot of pressure as well. One thing that is apparent in all of the communities that I represent is fear. There's a lot of fear of the unknown, fear of the challenges that you face, fear of new people coming in. One of the things that I valued of my time serving here in Cedar Lake was early on in my tenure working with the gentleman in the back of this room, Mr. Parker. We tackled some pretty serious challenges that we were facing with neighborhood infrastructure, stormwater, aging water infrastructure, roads, streets, drainage, you name it. We tackled a lot of that stuff. John was a part of that team as well. So we had a team of people here that we looked for solutions. So as I've watched government meetings over this first half of the year and spoke with my fellow public servants from different cities and towns, they all kind of have the similar refrain going on in their communities. And I always encourage people to, rather than focus on just the challenge, focus on the opportunity the challenge presents. So that opportunity comes in the form of making good policy. Right? You can make good policies that allow you to utilize any growth that comes your way to your advantage. If it wasn't for a certain amount of growth, some of these neighborhood projects, like in Colleen's neighborhood, in Bob's neighborhood, other old neighborhoods around Cedar Lake would not have happened. Those projects were backed by property taxes, paid for by the taxpayer, because of the fact that there were more taxpayers. Public finance is not unlimited. In local government, it's finite. You can't just tax whatever you want. So it's a business model, but the mindset has to be one of solutions. So what kind of solutions does local government have today, especially as the state legislature continues in each legislative session to make it more difficult for you to pass the cost of growth along to the developers. So I'm going to encourage you to study some House bills. You guys all know that I follow the legislative session too. So looking back to 2022, House Bill 1245 is a real important one to look at. In the 2023 session, there were 3 bills related to utilities that I think are important to look at, as well as 1005, 1402, and 1417. And then there was another one, House Bill 1167, that actually had to do with the archiving and broadcasting of meetings. That's now state law, so congratulations to Cedar Lake for being about 10 years ahead of the curve on that. We're working on it in Lake County, kicking and screaming. But getting back to what I was saying is that you're going to have to be diligent, right? I watched the last Plan Commission meeting, and the Schilling Development Group was up presenting some ideas for lakeside development. And a development of that volume, right, 200 acres, somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 units, presents some very unique challenges. And it also presents opportunities if you're ahead of the curve on policy. Some of those policies, things like using road impact fees. I encourage you, as you go into your budget season, to make that a priority of what you do as you budget, is look at paying for that study for a road impact fee, because what that will allow you to do is that as the units come in, you can utilize those dollars for infrastructure improvements related to the growth. It won't address your current inventory, but one of the biggest challenges in growing communities seems to be focused around intersections. Intersections is where your most bottlenecks come and causes the large-scale accordion effect that none of us really like too much. And like I said earlier, being a part of a group, Ralph, John, Jerry Smith was on the council with us back then, and Bob and Greg. We tackled some of these things that were really hard challenges that people thought couldn't get done because we had the solution mindset. We started making policies and taking action and planning in a way that made it clearer what our path was to address those challenges. So as you go through this year, you're probably not going to see the growth that you've seen in recent years, which is probably a good thing to an extent to settle everything down a little bit, give you a chance to catch up. But it'll be back, whether you like it or not. This area here of Lake County is a target area for the Indiana Economic Development Commission. It's a target area for people moving out of Illinois, homes and businesses. And so the pressure's going to come back. The challenge will be is sharpen up your chops when it comes to your policy agenda. Make sure that your planning documents are up to speed, that you're studying some of the state legislation that comes down the pike every year, and that you're leveraging every single opportunity that you have to make sure that the burden of the growth goes onto the growth itself. One of the things I hear as a common refrain also is, Well, we need to build our infrastructure first. I can tell you as a taxpayer, I hope you don't do that, and here's why. Because if you do that, you're putting the cost of the growth on the people that are already living here. So it's important that you have mechanisms in place that as it comes, you are prepared and you're ready to take action. So be action-oriented, solution-oriented, and you can do what we did 10 years ago and stay right up to the game. We did the same with public safety, where we took an approach of, yeah, we can do this. We planned for it. We added officers, added equipment, and here we are today as a pretty safe community. So, again, your pressures and stress are something that you share with every community that I represent. And I'm proud to represent this district because I have experience in this. And we face these challenges, and I encourage my colleagues, my fellow elected officials, and my constituents in the district, the 75,000 people I serve, that if we are solution-minded, we can come out of this better than what we started. So that's my message to you today, and I encourage you to keep up the good work, work hard at this, communicate with your citizens, ask the hard questions. When a developer's up here presenting a development in a plan commission, you're considering the terms of a PUD, research it, ask the hard questions, be diligent, because it's that diligence that's going to lead you to the next chapter in this community. And I've always believed that Cedar Lake is on the precipice of its greatest chapter in history. So keep up the work, keep working hard. If you need anything from me, you guys all know how to get in touch with me. I'm here to serve as well. A different role now for me, but I'm still a taxpayer here in Cedar Lake and care about this community and want to see all of you succeed in your endeavors and appreciate the hard work. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Neymar. Any additional public comment?
Gail Brandon, I just wanted to ask about the building of these buildings. I know that, the police have been cramped for a long time, and I'm not against building new buildings here. I was a little upset that you picked the park space to do it in. I mean, we spent $1 million for a fire truck and new police vehicles and I've watched the meetings online for the past couple of years and decided I need to start coming down because no one's asking, what's this going to cost a taxpayer? And that question came up when I was at a meeting here a couple months ago, and I don't remember it being, addressed. What is going to cost the taxpayer? How much are these two buildings actually going to cost? And what is the impact to us? What are the interest rates on these bonds? And what are the payback terms? There's got to be a cost associated with it. It can't just always be a tax increase, like Mr. Niemeyer said. Planning for, what needs to be done ahead of time is a great thing. But there is a bottom line here, and we're all hanging on it, all of the residents of this community. So I would like someone to answer what these two new buildings are going to cost, not the new proposed third building. And isn't this building adequate for a meeting place with the addition of extra space for the town hall? Once the police are in their new space, wouldn't this be still adequate for some years that we don't need to rush into building a new building that looks the same and knocking down this one to give, the lake view? We're already talking about commercial on this property, and I really don't want to see, any planned businesses in this area. This is a great place for our market day. It's a great place for, we used to have a fall festival, a lot of fun. Kids come here and play soccer, and there's a lot of activity going on around here. The symphony came, and there's going to be less place to park and to enjoy for the residents because it's being taken up by buildings. So I was disappointed with that, not to say that we didn't need them, but taking up precious park space. I mentioned it in a previous meeting that maybe Dave could put our parks into a land trust so that we don't have crazy development happening to our park space. This should be preserved for our residents. I know there were several trees taken down. I don't know if any of you even lived here. I know Ralph did at the time that I came in the late 80s, and we bought trees and planted them for over 80 trees were planted in memory of, you know, the founders of the community and the residents that, you know, we care deeply for. And I went to the town clerk's office and looked at the park minutes from that time to see that, you know, for a couple of years, they had these trees dedicated. And if you go to the park board meeting for April 6th, about the 30-minute mark, and watch how it was just really callously talked about. And I didn't find it entertaining about talking about trees coming down, but this park, those trees were planted in memory of people who live here, or who did live here, including B. Horner, who was our first historian in Cedar Lake and developed the first book about Cedar Lake, and including Doc Miller, who, you know, was a great doctor, Dr. King, who was, you know, the trees were dedicated in memory of some of my family, and I was at those, and I'd like to see those trees replaced, you know. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment?
Meg Daly, I live at 14819 Moore Street. My stuff today is just kind of talking about the dredge. I volunteer at the museum driving the steamboat, and just in my observations, the crossing points, the middle crossing point is bright green. The north end, there's stickers, they just put stickers on them, and the one is peeling off, so it's kind of hard to tell that that's even a crossing. The south end's okay, but I just feel like there should be,
Good point.
it should be more
They all should be that green.
visible. I've also heard that people have been crossing, towing a tuber through the crossing. And I know we talked about the 200 feet no wake zone. How is that going to be enforced, especially during the week when the DNR is not around? Is there any way that the police department can do any kind of, no, nothing?
We have the authority to do it. We don't
Right, but
have the
resources for it, okay. Pretty much that's all I had a question. I am against taking more space away from the town grounds. I just feel like it's for the residents, and we've already taken a lot. I'm totally for the police and the fire having a better facility. I just wish that we could use what we have left for the residents. That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, how about young fellow, you just come up and give your name and your address and say hi. How's that? Come on, buddy.
Just name and address? You don't have to, if you don't want to.
Come on.
I don't know our new address now.
Are you all right?
You just moved.
It's your old one.
Yes, so my name is Joseph Yursich. That is my dad. He was on the HOA for some time. Yeah.
So you're becoming a leader, Eagle Scout?
Not Eagle, but I am working on this merit badge and a few others for a summer camp that I am going to.
That's great.
Well, thank you for coming, and good luck to you, and keep up the leadership.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Alice Downey, 14608 Lee Street. Two things. One was I was here a couple of times prior, and I our neighborhood appreciates the crosswalk that was put in and the bumper strips and the signs. People are stopping when they don't have to. It's really fun to watch. I mean, it's a good thing. They see someone's going across the street, they stop. It's just really wonderful. So I do appreciate it. The people in our neighborhood appreciate it. Not as much speeding, I think, which is wonderful. The other thing was the no parking signs along the park. I don't believe we've received them yet, and I know that they were approved at the same time as the other walkway. And just to address, I was on the lake on Sunday afternoon for about 4 or 5 hours, and people were going through those green areas, towing. They were crossing each other. They were doing all sorts of things. People are pretty, I don't know, irresponsible, I guess you could say. But then I passed where the DNR boat and all the boats were in their slips. There were no one out on the lake even monitoring that on Sunday. So I get during the week maybe, but.
Yeah.
I think it's because DNR got called to Robinson Lake, there was a drowning. I'm pretty sure, because I was pretty surprised as well. Alice said there wasn't a DNR boat out.
Right. Well, in that case, then, would we back up DNR with, and I know.
That's my guess. I don't know if that's factual, but I can tell you, the boat was not off the list.
It is true, because our dive team was there, and all of the DNR divers went there.
Okay, and I get
The DNR
that,
divers helped by the body.
perhaps a backup for us during this time.
Sometimes they have extra officers on jet skis, but I didn't see them out
No,
either,
no,
so, good point. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
Any additional public comment? Public comment?
Cheryl Parker, 7227 West 136th Court. I believe it was a couple months ago, there was some indication that there would be a public get-together to get ideas on what was going to happen in the town grounds here, as to what was the plan. I think, Chris, you had mentioned that. Is that still going to happen? I thought you said in June or July?
Take your questions and, keep.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, so I was wondering what the status is on that. 'Cause I think people would like to attend that and know what, kind of contribute some ideas and see what's going to happen with that.
Thank you. Public comment? Public comment? Anybody? Jennifer?
No one online.
Public comment? Public comment is now closed. We will begin responding.
To those that we can't respond, I'll take the written comment first in regards to Potawatomi Park. Our statement is exactly as we stated it in both the park board meeting and the town council meeting. It remains unchanged. As far as the procedure for the 4th of July, please get in contact with me and we'll try to set something up here in the near future, or as quick as possible, because it's coming within 15 or so days. In regards to Gatlin finishing landscaping, I know our county councilman made the complaint, and I believe they have up until September to complete the project. We do plan on having them complete that sooner, but I do not have a set date of when they will complete for certain. Weather is always dependent in these situations right now. As far as going to Mr. TIF revenue, I didn't catch where he got that information from, but I will say that it's probably not accurate for the state of Indiana as far as, or was maybe accurate when it was first created, but certainly as Mr. Niemeyer gave us some state law changes, I would request that the trustee also do the same and look up those state law changes, because HEA 1005 expanded and opened up the use for residential housing TIF to municipalities, as well as HE 1454, which allows the TIF districts now to pay for police and fire capital and operating expenses out of TIF revenue. So the state of Indiana has a disagreement with the use because they are trending towards opening up those TIF revenues for other uses outside of what has traditionally been used. As far as the interest rate, we have answered Kevin Toth previously on the interest rate, which was 3.91, held by the bank. I don't have the total amortization schedule. You can make a public records request for the amortization schedule to see the entire cost. I don't have that in front of me. As far as the transfer of funds from the sewer utility into the lake dredge, there were two separate meetings, one upon which, Jen, do you know the dates?
I can't remember the exact dates, but I know there were two meetings, because I do have it noted in my office, where we publicly committed to the use of the sewer funds. As for actually transferring the funds, that is something we are working on right now to make sure we have a form that I am comfortable with.
Correct, and that will be done under the auspices and review auspices of our attorney and his review and in conformance with any state law. To Mr. Niemeyer, there are a few bills there that I hadn't looked at, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't know if you had a question. Yale, the cost of the buildings are not to exceed $16 million. It's a BOT project, so it's where the town's responsibility is capped out at $16 million. If the project runs over that, it's on the developer to make up the difference. The interest rate, as was stated, and the amortization schedule, which can be requested through a public records request. And is the current building adequate? My assumption is not, but that is why we're going to go through the needs assessment with K2M. And the memorial trees, we have stated in the previous meeting, will be replaced, and placards to them will be added in at a future time once the construction projects are over, and that will be outside of the construction projects. The town has committed to replacing them. We've made the dredge, green buoys. I will get with Dredge America and ask them about making sure the buoys are...
It should all be the dark green like she mentions, that's the
Correct.
safest thing.
As far as enforcement, I believe Carl has mentioned that as far as our police department, but it is the DNR's lake to patrol. They have had an emergency rule, as I had talked about, and I'm talking with Terry, the DNR conservation officer, who's generally here. They have stepped up enforcement and have brought in additional staff or tried to rotate in additional staff. But unfortunately, just like town staff and pretty much everybody in this world, there's only a finite amount of resources and manpower, employee power that we can implement, and they're under the same pressures that we and everybody else are. As far as town ground space, absolutely, as much space as we can get for the public is desirable. We will look at the status of the no parking signs, Alice, and again, I think the voter situation, and then Cheryl Parker regarding the town ground planning. That was originally planned for June, but unfortunately, just like my previous statement, staff time and consultant time has been consumed quite a bit with the existing projects and unannounced expectations, very similar to, no one expected a helicopter to be landing in the lake, so things have come up. We do plan on still tackling that project as a public project, as outlined previously. It's just, it has been delayed. So we will publicly announce that when those public involvement meetings are scheduled.
And where would that be? Where would the notifications be so people know?
We will state it in this meeting. We will post it likely on our website. The same process that we use for notifying the public of any of the meetings we have here. So that would be the process that we look to use currently. And
I think you nailed them all, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was following along.
Anything, John, you want to add anything?
No, I don't need to. It's 9 o'clock, no need anything.
Julie, you okay?
No, I just want to add, can we please get Ellis those no parking signs? I know you've been asking for a long time, and, you know, we can get on that. Well, for your neighborhood, but I know you've been asking for quite a while.
Did you guys answer my question? I was asking you guys, not just this Salatas. Even though I know he's the town manager, my question was directed to you guys as the council members, because you did it. There's $4.3 million that we are going to...
Yeah, Kevin, I was going to chime in after Chris on that subject. You know, the theory is real simple. You know, the town was here 1950s while you were still living up in Chicago, where we moved down from years ago. And while this town was here, everybody was working at the mills, everybody started living here full time. All these cottages were nothing but cottages. As people lived in them all year, what happened? Septic fields overflowed, we are a lake basin. A lake basin means all the water that feeds that lake is from our own watershed. Thus, the pollution, we won't get into details, infiltrated the lake. As we became a town, 1972, 5 years after the town was formed, a bunch of brave councilmen voted for making everybody hook up to wastewater treatment sewage, okay? At that point in time, it took many, many years to get the sewer connected, fix all the leakages. We had some PUDs that never wanted to hook up. Therefore, it was decided amongst the council that that appropriation of the wastewater funds, that at the time was quite substantial, would be used to help kick this lake project off. So that's that answer. I think you asked another question regarding TIF. Chris nailed that one pretty good, nail on the head. Again, we've got legal, we've got consultants, and now with some of these new expanded TIFs, we have an opportunity. Some people don't like opportunities. Some people look at it as only a challenge. But we, as a town of Cedar Lake, have an opportunity to shape our future. And if we can utilize tools that are approved by the state legislatures and signed by the governor, we'd be silly not to. So that's my 2 cents on the TIF, and I think the dates, I'm going to say that that was probably 18 months or 2 years ago that we approved that stuff. I think that's one of the things I wrote down for what you'd asked.
Thank you. This meeting's adjourned. Next meeting will be Tuesday, July 18th, 2023.